Nothing upsets me as much as the anti-blackness in the colored community. Let's talk about this. These days, I've been exposed to so much racism, not just only from white South Africans, but so many colored South Africans. And I think this has just given me such a huge perspective of how big of a problem this is. You know, in our communities, you would hear people making a joke, saying, no, you need to Brazilian your hair. No, you need to do this. No, you need to take away all parts of yourself that make you black in order to fit into white people's standards and European standards. Okay, like I grew up with that narrative, being told that my hair is terrible, being told that I need to relax my hair, and these days being told that I need to Brazilian my hair. But I just realized that that is such a huge take on how much colored people just hate the blackness within themselves and hate the color within themselves. It's like they want to be white so desperately, or they want to gain white people's approval so desperately. It is sickening how I've encountered and experienced more racism from people within the colored community than I have from actual white people. It's disgusting.
I want to tell Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa himself, he must change his attitude. They must recognize the colored people. We were here first. Yes. The Korean son was here first. This is our country. The country belongs to the colored.
What would you say, Ma, to those that say perhaps this might have some racial undertones to it?
No, we are not racist. We are not racist.
What is a colored? Because I can't see myself as a colored. Because that identity was forced onto me.
If you have a identity crisis, what do? You don't know who you are. Now the problem that we have in our area here is our people don't know who they are. And history has been distorted. So much so that even the colored believe he's a colored. Even though this identity was forced upon us. First by the colonialists, then the national government, and now the democratic dispensation.
Whatever the fuck this is, whether it is superiority or inferiority complex, just fucking stop this racist bullshit and deal with your insecurities. Because we are not trying to be white. We are colored, proudly colored. And we are beautiful. We are smart. And we are talented. We are the full package. We are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 out of 10 minus nothing. You got that? Do not fuck with us.
We do also have to think about what whiteness means. Is it about skin color? Mbeki, Ndate, you have said that perhaps we need to target the black elite. What are your thoughts so far?
Well, there was a comment about Oppenheimer and Rupert, but what about Patrice Motsepe? He's a multi-billionaire. So why aren't you mentioning him? What about Cyril Ramaphosa? That's another multi-billionaire in this country. What we're talking here, black liberation. Black liberation, we achieved black liberation in 1994. Okay, you may not
well,
like
it's not
it.
Felt in this room.
You may think you got nothing out of it, but we have a class of black people here who are multi
as we should have.
Yes,
it is their country. We should have rich black people.
I'm not saying you shouldn't have them.
Oh,
I say we don't have. Blacks are not oppressed by anyone in South Africa.
Wow.
If they are, tell me who's oppressing them.
All
if
right.
they are oppressed,
so if we are oppressed, Wanelisa, who is oppressing us?
I think I hear what you're saying, because, you know, you writing your books and the political elite in the ANC are not oppressed, because you are doing the oppressing at the moment, along with white. You are the gatekeeper of whiteness. You represent the gatekeeper of whiteness. Yes. And you sold us out. You sold us out. And to say that you fought for my freedom, you didn't fight for anything because I'm not free at the moment.
I merely said I did what I could. And one other thing, do you think for a second, I as a white person do not agree with both you and you? Have you ever thought that maybe I agree with you?
I don't care. I don't care. At this point in time, white feelings, white opinions don't matter to me because I need the land.
Ladies,
I need the land.
I need us to think about all of us. I'd love to come to you, Tiens.
It is unacceptable that inequality is so high in our country. A Gini coefficient of 65% is the second highest in the world, if not the highest in the world. The question I think we should ask is, how can that be changed?
Africans, we are having a new problem in South Africa. Not only South Africa, the whole of Africa. We are now having racism against ourselves. This new form of racism, it's called colorism. Actually, it's not a new thing. It's something that has always existed before. As long as you are close to white, you consider yourself superior, you consider yourself beautiful, or rather you consider yourself handsome. And this is just mental programming that has been placed in the minds of Africans to believe the more we are close to white people, the better we are. The better we are mentally, the better we are physically, the better we are aesthetically, and the better we are in appearance. But that's not true. So we know South Africa is a multiracial country, and we have the people of India, we have the people of Europe. India will represent Asia. We have Asians, we have Europeans, and then we have Africans. So, you know, these three races came together, possibly came together, and some of them reproduced, and a new race or a new kind of individuals were produced. These individuals who are neither Asians, they are not Europeans, and they are not Africans. They call themselves the colored people. When you ask them, why do you call yourself colored? They say, no, I don't call myself colored. I was born and people started calling me colored. Why is that? Why do we have black, colored, and white? Why is that? What is the essence of this coloring? What message are we trying to pass across, you know? The Khoisan people are neither black nor white. The Khoisans are distinct people, and they have features which are resembling the ones of the Chinese. They have those hair, and they're close to reddish, the reddish type of soil. They're close to that color. And so, being close to white person, a black person is very far from being a white person, but a colored person is close to being a white person. And so they feel privileged. They feel that they are more closer to the epitome, to the supreme. But no, that's not the case. So let's continue watching this video, and then you'll realize the problem of racism and how this colorism is something that Africans, we should take into account and educate one another that everything we have, everything that was said was mental programming. It's time we deconstruct it and we construct a new thing that is sustainable, that is equitable, and that is just. So let's dive into the video.
Now there are people here saying, give us the land, then that will change. That may be. I want to say, what is the biggest empowering mechanism in any government's hands, in any nation's hands? No, it's education. What I'm perplexed about is that instead of holding a democratically elected government accountable after 22 years, what do we focus on? On 10 million or 10% people in the country.
The 10% who own the majority of the wealth.
Not all of them.
You own the government.
I mean, you know, we can say, city of the land, I've got the Constitution here. Yes, let's work with the Constitution and the National Development Plan and go forward. We shouldn't. We should hold this government and all the political parties accountable.
What about rich black people?
Yes. So
who mistreat other black people, like Kulubuse Zuma, who's now been forced by the courts to pay his 5,300 workers. What about him?
In South Africa, it happens to be that the majority of white South Africans, just by virtue of their existence and the access to assets and everything that they have, are very much the huge culprits in this conversation.
No, they're not.
It doesn't mean, I'm sorry,
They're
it doesn't mean, right? It doesn't mean that there are black people that are doing things that are wrong. But why is that the immediate equal of it in the conversation? Will we then acknowledge that the entire apartheid machinery was also corrupt and that you know, that it was affirmative action for white people?
Yeah. All right, Henny, you've actually documented how white fortune was made. Tell me about that.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Chaba, I think firstly, we need to appreciate our country was at war, right? And our country was at war for decades. And the last 10 or 15 years of that war saw all manner of crimes. In order for the apartheid regime to be able to buy weapons, to buy oil, for large corporations to move their cash offshore, they broke all the rules in the book and made a network of people around the world incredibly wealthy out of that process, and people in our country. So I think for us as a nation, again, to move forward, we need a full understanding. For there to be true justice in our country, there has to be truth. And I think when it comes to economic justice, this is a crucial element that must be the focus of us moving forward.
All right, Abraham, you have a very big job. You're responsible for social cohesion at the Department of Arts and Culture. Can you bring everybody together?
I think it's possible. Government has 14 priorities.
If I could earn R1 every time I've gotten this comment, I would have been a millionaire by now. But yes, I am South African, but I do want to know from the people of TikTok, what is it about me that does not give you South African energy? Because I kid you not, from high school, people have asked me, where are you from? They're like, you're clearly not from South Africa. I want to know why. I mean, I'm not upset about it. I don't even get offended by it, honestly. It's okay. But I think I just want to know, like, actually tell me, what is it about me that does not give you South African energy? Because I've actually never asked, and now I kind of want to know, like, what is it?
So, first of all, let's discuss who are these colored people. The colored people refers to members of multiracial, ethnic, communities in South Africa who may have ancestries from African, European, and Asian people. So one of the languages, or some of the languages spoken in South Africa are Afrikaan with a K. We have English language, we have Sosha, we have Swana language, and then we have English language, the South African variant. In Namibia, we have 130 people speaking these languages. Zambia, we have 3,000 people speaking these languages. And Zimbabwe, we have 17,923 individuals speaking this language. So South Africa's history is marred by a legacy of racial segregation and discrimination, with the apartheid regime leaving lasting scars on the country's social fabric. Among the various racial groups in South Africa, the colored community occupies a unique position, often overlooked in discussion about racial dynamics. So, we are going to explore the situation of colored people in South Africa, examining the roots of colorism within its community and its implication in the modern day context. Why is it that we have to address this issue today? Our ancestors may have failed to address this issue, but we have to address this issue. First of all, we will have to get a historical context to gather meaning. So the history of colored people in South Africa is deeply intertwined with colonialism and apartheid. During the apartheid era, the government implemented a system of racial classification which categorized people into distinct racial groups based on arbitrary criteria such as skin color and ancestry. Colored people who are mixed race descent found themselves marginalized within the rigid racial hierarchy, facing discrimination and segregation. So they are neither hot nor cold, white or black, Indian or European. They are not anywhere. They are mixed. They are colored people, you know. So let's look at the socio-economic challenges of colorism and why we have to address this issue. Despite the end of apartheid, colored people in South Africa continue to face significant socio-economic challenges, high levels of poverty, unemployment, and inadequate access to education and healthcare plague many colored communities in South Africa. The Khoisan are not very rich. They are not very rich. Actually, they are the most people who are living the worst in South Africa, and they are the original inhabitants of South Africa. It always happened that way. That way, the original inhabitants always have the lowest life in a particular country. For example, in Australia, we have the Aboriginal black people. They were exterminated by the British. We have those islands of Papua New Guinea. We have islands of Tasmania. These people were exterminated by the British because the British thought that they were inferior. The British thought they were superior over these black people. I wonder who said black is bad, white is good. Nobody said that. The Most High made them, and He made us this way for a good reason. He is really smart. He knew that we could not survive in Africa with a white skin, and He knew that the white person would not survive where they are with the black skin. So let's all understand and accept the Creator's method of creation and acknowledge and accept one another. You know? So colorism, historical injustices include forced removals from their homes and limited economic opportunities which colored people have faced in South Africa and also some parts of the world. You know? They have contributed to the persistent marginalization this oppression has contributed to the persistent marginalization of colored people in the country of South Africa. So colorism within the colored community. Within the colored community itself, there exists a phenomenon known as colorism. Within the colored community itself, there exists a phenomenon known as colorism. This is very interesting. The red people, the colored people, are also classifying themselves and racially stratifying themselves, you know. So this concept of colorism which exists within the colored community refers to the discrimination or prejudice based on skin tone, with the lighter skinned individuals often being favored over their dark skinned counterparts. This colorism can be traced back to the legacy of colonialism and apartheid, where lighter skin was associated with privilege and superiority. It's all mental structure. It's all mental captivity. It's all mental colonization. We need to decolonize the mind in order to liberate the things that we are safe, in order to liberate our children, in order to liberate the coming generations. We need to stand up and speak to one another. And first, we need to talk to the Most High God and ask Him for forgiveness. All of us have sinned and have fallen short of the glory. Anyone who sees himself greater than the other has already sinned and is telling God, he's trying to correct God, which is not right, you know. So after looking at the modern day implication, let's look at this modern day implication of colorism. We will say in contemporary South Africa, colorism manifests in various aspects of society, including beauty standards, employment opportunities, and social status. Lighter-skinned colored individuals may experience advantages in these areas, perpetuating inequalities within the community. Darker-skinned colored people, on the other hand, may face discrimination and prejudice, both within their community and in broader society. That's it. Another thing is intersectionality and identity. The complexity of the colored identity is further compounded by factors such as class, language, and cultural heritage. Many colored people in South Africa navigate multiple layers of identity, often feeling marginalized with both black and white communities. This intersectionality highlights the need for a nuanced discussion about race and identity in the country of South Africa. And now I want to extend and I want to transcend borders and say this is not a problem of South Africa only. This is a problem that is even taking place in my country. It even takes place in families. Families tend to favor people who are white-skinned are more beautiful than people who are dark-skinned. The beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder, and somebody should be shown favor by their works, not by their skin color. You might be having the fairest skin color, but you have the darkest of heart. It's rather to have a nice heart and a dark skin. it's better. Because value is better than success. So, let's have a conclusion to this. The situation of colored people in South Africa is a multifaceted issue shaped by historical legacies of colonialism and apartheid, as well as contemporary dynamics of colorism and intersectionality. Addressing the challenges faced by the colored community requires comprehensive efforts to dismantle systemic inequality and promote inclusivity and equality for all South Africans, regardless of race or skin color. Only through acknowledging and confronting these issues can South Africa truly move towards a more just and equitable society. We need people to come together. And also remember, we have reverse apartheid. It happens. Anything that bears the name apartheid, we do not want it. Either reverse or forward, we don't want it. We want a free and just society for all humans to coexist. And that's how it should be. So, I'm gonna end the video right here, and I want to assure you one thing. Kindly do subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to bring more value to you. You will not be missing videos. Also support me on Patreon. Do give something on my Patreon, become a member, donate something to the Patreon page, and also give the video super thanks. I know there are too many things, but choose the one which works for you. So thank you a lot, and stay blessed, stay African. Remember, you are valuable the way you are. That's just a reminder from your African brother, Evans from Kenya. See you in the next video.